All right, people, welcome. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. So, Motley Crue talks about their future. Will the show go on? Will there be a stadium tour? Will there be a Motley Crue? Well, according to Nikki Sixx, he says, yes, we are not going to cancel these gigs. We are moving forward. And even though they have no idea if Vince Neil can not only heal from his injury, but then train for a very big stadium tour. And we don't know the condition of his voice. We know that his voice was pretty good the night he fell off the stage. But if you recall, a few months prior, he had this incident where he went out and he tried to sing, and that lasted for about one song. So that show wasn't really very good for the fans who showed up, because one song and then he was done, and hopefully they got refunded. Don't know what happened there, but these are questions, right? That if you're a fan of this whole stadium tour idea and you're going to plunk down some serious cash, because you've got four bands. You've got Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, Joan Jett, and the Blackhearts. I probably would have put, I keep saying this, why not put Def Leppard at the top of the ticket at this point? But, Motley Crue had this movie they did, this biopic, and they were supposed to springboard off the whole Netflix movie and then right into a tour. And then everybody is going to be talking about Motley Crue. Vince Neil, he's going to get into great shape. He's got a personal trainer. He's got a lap band or whatever he's using to try to lose the weight. It worked a little bit. I mean, he definitely got a little smaller, but he is still a big dude for sure. And falling off the stage must have been a bit rough. I mean, I can't imagine falling 4 feet, not knowing you're about to fall 4 feet, and, boom, hitting the concrete. So Nikki Sixx says, yeah, the show's going to go on. Now, I have a theory. I think they must have a backup plan. I think Motley Crue has a backup plan. It's probably not John Corabi, based on what John has been saying lately about Motley Crue. Unless, of course, they decide to put John on a helicopter and then allow him to parachute onto the stage, which would be a really good stunt, by the way, because he doesn't want to have much to do with those guys. He can sing the songs, and then the magic ladder will come along and he can grab that, and that will take him back to the helicopter, and that will be the end of that. But there must be another vocalist waiting in the wings. That is my theory. Because if they're going to sign contracts and if they're going to sign waivers and they're going to sign this and that, they're probably going to need a backup plan to fulfill their end of the bargain. And we've seen that casual fans sometimes will respond to new musicians who don't make any sense, like Neil Finn in Fleetwood Mac. Doesn't really make any sense, does it? But the casual fans who were drinking $14 beer after the second or third, so you're up to like, what, $42 worth of beer at that point. The old days in college, that was called a month's supply, right? In any event, that's 3 at the at the concert venue. So they're happy. They don't care. They're just kind of floating along to the music, and the music is kind of familiar to them. They've heard it sort of before. And this goes to my first point. I've got 2 points here as to why people are less likely to attend the stadium tour. Now, they may have already sold all these tickets and the tickets will be honored. But if you haven't purchased tickets yet for this, you might not. And there are 2 reasons. Right now, uncertainty with the local governments and the venues behaving like little tin pot dictators, and the promoters as well. We found that out through our good friend Travis Tritt, who is out there trying to defend the right of people to not have to engage in any kind of medical treatment, whether it's a medical device that you have to wear, or it's paperwork that you need from something that the government is insisting you do. And now you've got promoters like Live Nation also insisting. It's just really weird. They're all walking in lockstep, as I like to say. So you've got that one issue, and it's an important issue for a lot of fans. I'm not going to go any shows. I'm not going to see any shows where you have to do these things because, number one, I'm wanting to escape for the evening. This is the whole point. I'm making my great escape. I got the babysitter. True story. We may have gone out to eat prior because sometimes people do that prior to concerts, right? I'm paying the parking. You know, parking can be pretty expensive at some of these places. And if it's not, then you're going to walk a half a mile. So you're going to go through all of this to go see a show. And then you're going to get there and someone's going to tell you, did you do the thing? Because we need some paperwork. Do you have a QR code handy? And I'm going to say, no, I paid all this money. I parked the car. I invested all this time. And now you're telling me I need to have a QR code. Some of us are just going to say, screw it. I don't want to do it. It's not worth it. And by the way, as you get older, you're less enthusiastic generally about putting yourself through all the crap. The show I went to the other night, had to get the babysitter. The drive was hectic. There's a traffic light every 30 feet. There's people that don't know how to drive. The venue, $20 to park. Was it a good show? Yes, it was a really good show. And I'm thankful. I'm glad I went. But I'm not going to go to a show like every other week or anything. There's just no way. In this particular venue, didn't ask me any questions about my medical history or anything of that nature. They were not handing out, medical devices. Here, you need this. If you're going in, you need one of these. I'm going to be like, yeah, no, thank you. And I think, oh, no, you have to have one or you can't go in there. And I'll be like, no. See, and that is one big reason as to why a lot of people might not attend the stadium tour. Now, there's another one, which is actually a bit more long-term, I hope, because the current thing might not be going away. If that doesn't go away, then number two is a moot point. But here's number two. A lot of these bands are getting a bit long in the tooth. And some of them have replaced members and moved on and done okay. Some cling to their old members, their old singers. Vince Neil would be a great example. Stephen Pearcy, a lot of these guys who are way past their prime. So all the music that you either have in your collection or the stuff that every so often you might hear on the radio, but you're probably not going to hear that much on the radio. You go inside and you listen and you're going, these guys don't look the way they used to look. They don't really sound the way they used to sound. And this is just mortality, the aging process, a healthy recognition of where you are in life. And that's important. And a lot of us don't really want to see our rock and roll heroes deteriorating. We just don't want to see that. Some of us are okay with it. Some of us excuse it. I hear people my age all the time. Really? You didn't think that was good? I mean, I become Simon Cowell to everybody now. It's like, you just don't like anything. No, there are things I like. I will tell you, Mickey Thomas is insane. I don't know how he does it. He's one of the best. He's 71, 72 years old. Hasn't lost it. Just incredible singer. And there are a handful of guys like that. Some that you think about all the time and some that you don't. But the point is, if you can't do what you used to do, you might want to stop doing what you used to do too. But again, I've talked about image, branding. This is the Fleetwood Mac brand. So what if this guy, Neil Finn, is there? He's just as good. You won't miss Lindsey Buckingham. It's going to be a great night. And the promoters, then they go into all the different markets and they influence all the writers who are writing reviews of these shows. Oh, it was casual chemistry between Stevie and Neil. And you're like, what the hell is casual chemistry? You don't even know what that is. But they make things up and people go, I like casual chemistry. I want that. Vince Neil, who is slightly bigger than he used to be, and we don't know if his voice will hold up for the show, but we want to see Vince because he's the original singer, and it's not Motley Crue without Vince Neil, right? Even though it was Motley Crue with John Corabi. By the way, don't expect them to use John Corabi as their plan B. I assume they have a plan B if Nikki Sixx is out there selling the idea of the show must go on, because you've had 2 cancellations. It's going to go on 2 years. Your lead singer just fell and broke a bunch of ribs. So you must be confident there must be some other thing. I mean, maybe it'll be I hate to say it this way, might be a blessing in disguise if Vince can't do it and then they have somebody else as a backup. Might be a blessing in disguise. But then you'll have Motley Crue purists out there who are going to be like, no, it's not Motley Crue. You can't, it should be, where's Vince? And I understand those people, but those people sometimes, their logic and their reasoning goes way like over the cliff, because you listen to somebody and you go, okay, that's the original singer, right? Wow. I'm thinking of the few dates that Genesis did. I love Phil Collins. He is one of my favorite artists of all time. I lived on the Phil Collins stuff from the 80s and the Genesis stuff. And I mean, so much music, you couldn't even keep up with it for a few years, right? But to bring him up there and to play gigs with him, I understand the nostalgia. It's like saying, let's say goodbye to Phil, right? That's what that's all about. How about a speaking tour? How about a book signing, right? How about something that's a little more low key? Don't put him in a chair where it looks like he's about to keel over, right? And his voice and everything about him. And you're sitting there going, wow, this is just so bad. And you feel bad. You feel sorry for that person in that situation. And many of us don't want to go see these people that we looked up to 30 or 40 years ago. And, you know, we thought, number one, they're not going to age. They're rock and roll stars. They're not going to age. Some of them age gracefully. Rick Springfield comes to mind. Sammy Hagar for many years. He's starting to age finally, but he's 74 or whatever. So, you know, he's going to age sooner or later, but he beat that for many, many years. Probably drank a little bit too much tequila, or it's inevitable. And that's the problem. People think it's not inevitable. And when they go see a show, they're like, hey, this was nothing like I remember it. Why did I spend all this money? And that's the problem for a lot of people who listen to this music and then nothing new came along to replace it, because the industry changed, or the stuff that did come along to replace was never on the radio, and nobody got to know anybody, and none of these bands became famous because, again, if your songs are being streamed and you're getting, you know, a fraction of a penny for each song, and you're not getting that many streams because nobody knows who you are, you're not going to mount a North American tour, right? And what promoter is going to take a chance on you? Just like the focus testing on the radio. Hey, Irv, why don't you put this band on a double bill with Motley Crue? No, that's too risky. We need big marquee names. We could sell lots of tickets. We can charge a ton for the tickets. You can say one of these bands is worth what we're charging, right? And give people value, give them 4, right? And I'm not saying all 4 of these bands don't sound as good as they used to. Poison sounds very good still. Joan Jett puts on a great show. In fact, all the other bands other than Motley Crue, I think, can pull this off. Def Leppard sounds really good, but nobody's going to say Joe Elliott is the same Joe Elliott from 1987. You just, I mean, how could you say that? It's just, I mean, is he good for his age? Yes, which is better than Vince Neil, who's really struggling. And a lot of us, again, don't want to see what our rock star friends look like now. Friends, people that we listened to when we were kids or early 20s, whatever. We don't want to see that. And we don't want to lie to ourselves. And we don't want to just go through the motions and spend a lot of money, almost like a souvenir, like, yes, I went to this show. Was it any good? Yeah, it was good. Not as good as what they did in 1984, but It was good. It was good. Yeah, I'm glad I went. It's like you're just trying to reason with yourself, you know? So between all the restrictions and the problems with the way corporations are treating American citizens right now, that's number one, putting lockdowns, restrictions, and all the medical tyranny and all that. That's number one. Number two is seeing a very aged product that's nothing like you remember and trying to convince yourself that it's the same, even though it's very, very different. Those are the two big problems moving forward. I'm hoping number one will go away and it will only be number two as the long-term problem, because at least you can go to the show and then make that determination. I mean, just having that freedom will probably elevate the experience where you can say, okay, yeah, they were better back in 1990, but they were pretty good tonight and I had a good time. And that's all you can really ask for. But as a long-term strategy, this is going nowhere, people. And nobody is coming to bail us out. Nobody's coming along to replace Motley Crue or Poison or Joan Jett or Def Leppard. This is what we've got. And so as long as these bands are around, a promoter will try to all put them together and try to package them. And then you'll say to yourself, yeah, this is good. This is just as good as I remember it. And I get it. The oldies circuit has been around for, I don't know, 50 years, whatever. The problem with the oldies circuit versus the classic rock circuit or the glam metal geezer rock circuit is that oldies are for old people, right? You don't want to admit that this is an oldies event. Oldies music doesn't sound like Motley Crue and Joan Jett, right? Right? Just keep telling yourself that. That's the problem that we're dealing with now. But those are a few of my thoughts on this topic. Do I think the Motley Crue thing will go off? It'll go off if the promoters and the government doesn't shut it down. It will go off because I think Motley Crue has a backup plan in case Vince can't rise to the occasion. We shall see. We shall see. It'll be very interesting.